to wipe the tears from your eyes. Here's the reason why. Hold on. God's on your side. He can handle it. God's on your side. Hold on. God's on your side. He can handle it. God's on your side. Miss Leandria Johnson.
Yes, you can. Only a taste.
He has overcome adversity to where we can only say God is on our side. Welcome to the show, Miss Tanya. Welcome to the show. It is such a great pleasure to have you here. Such a great pleasure to discuss all the adversities that you have overcome. Just to give everyone a breakdown of all the struggles and the abuses that Miss Tanya has endured. Miss Tanya has endured various types of abuses that range from childhood abuse, which is childhood molestation, as well as drug addiction and homelessness. So, Miss Tanya, please give us a breakdown of the obstacles that you had to overcome.
Oh boy, my greatest obstacle started from day one, from when I was formed in my mother womb, and that was rejection and abandonment.
Yes.
And then as life went on, it went on to domestic violence and child molestation,
Yes.
homelessness,
Yeah.
and fighting strongholds that kept me bounded and through my journey.
You know, when I meet with a lot of victims and I speak to them, and they also discuss some of the abandonment issues as well. And that also plays a big role in how a child growing up as well as becoming an adult, how we form our life, how we form the way we think, how we choose the various men in our lives, and the certain type of addictions and abuses that we put our bodies through, that we put ourselves through.
Exactly.
Lord.
Yes.
So let's talk about the incest, which is the childhood abuse and the molestation that you endured. Do you feel comfortable enough to go into details?
Of course, God with me brought me out in this
Okay,
season.
okay.
You know, I'm already healed. I've already subdued my process. I've already got my professional help, and I'm just ready, geared, and aimed to take on God's journey.
Okay. Well, can you tell us about the age range you were when that occurred, and if it was a continuous type of abuse?
Yes. I was at the age of about 12 years old.
Okay.
And I remember I was in the car coming from my uncle's house for dinner because my family was in town. And I remember I had some shorts on, and I was sitting in the back seat of my father's car, and my uncle had started feeling my leg, and I had felt a little uncomfortable with it. And I kept trying to move over, but the more I would move over, you know, a backseat of the car is not so big.
Right.
I remember just to rewind the tape, I'm basically just getting with my family because I was placed with my great-grandmother, and she had passed away by the age of 12, where I was placed in a home starting to live a different life. And at the time, that's when this happened. So he kind of rolled his hand over my legs, and he kind of fondled with me. I'm from Washington, D.C., metropolitan area. So he fondled with me from Northwest D.C. all the way to Fort Washington, Maryland. Yeah. And I kind of felt, I don't know, it was a void or something that I just didn't feel right. I was scared. I was terrified. my life was changing. I'm coming out of one home where we practice faith and religion till I'm going into another home with my mother and my dad, and now I meet my uncle, and he does this to me.
Right. Oh, gosh. Well, study shows that children who are the most vulnerable to being molested and being victimized by sexual assaults occurs between the ages of 7 and 13. So you was right at that age range, right at that peak where you fit in that category to be molested. And this is something that I'm definitely is against. I fight against abuse. I fight against domestic violence. I fight against the childhood molestation and any other type of assaults that a woman goes through. For example, when I was 13 or 14, I lived in a house with a predator. I lived in a house with one from birth all the way to 18 till I left that house. And he is my uncle. And so I definitely feel you. I definitely understand where you're coming from. But see, at that time, he was the one that always would be so abusive, so aggressive, want to call your names, want to do this, do that. And so, it was just one day, he just thought he was just going to take my body. He thought he was going to get a piece of me. And, he just kept trying to unzip those jeans. I'm telling you, he just kept trying, and I fought him with all the breath and the air that God had given me. I fought him off of me. I was yelling and screaming, and then, and I know this was God who told me to say this, but I told him that if he don't get off me, and that if he tried to ever take my body again, that I was going to call the police, and I was going to press charges. Yes. So, I made sure he understood where I was coming from, that you're not getting me. And so I told my grandma, because at the time, since she's the one who I was living with, I called her mom. And so I told her at that time when she came home about her son and what he had tried to do to me. And I told her the same thing, that your son tried to take my body today. He tried to rape me. And I told him that if he ever tried to take my body again, if he ever touched me again, that I was going to press charges. Girl, she just looked at me like she didn't know who I was.
Wow. And, that's funny because oftentimes the people that we think that's going to protect us and save us, they kind of sweep it under the rug. And that's what happened to me. It was kind of swept under the rug. And that's why we always take this and we take it and we end up meeting a man that violates us. And we think it's okay because at that point when we were supposed to be protected, right? By the people that we trust, they didn't protect us. So it was like it was giving us a sense that we're a child and we're thinking that, hey, this is okay. And it's not okay. There's nothing okay about it.
Yes. That's why I am so glad. I'm so glad that you are healed, that you are able to discuss this and talk about it, because I know this is still happening now as we're speaking.
Yes.
And I know that there's some young girl who's listening, a teenager somewhere, even a young adolescent. 5, 6, and 7 being molested and taken advantage of, mistreated, busting their wombs, knocking their ovaries that just beginning to form, knocking them out of sack, knocking them out to where it puts them in a position to where they can never bear children. Never.
Wow. And that's just amazing. A lot of things are just hitting home because my abuse had led me into drug addiction because I was facing these emotional roller coasters inside of me, and I didn't know what was going on. So it led me to promiscuous things, and drug addiction, and drug addiction leads to one addiction, and one addiction leads to another addiction because I wasn't guided, I wasn't nurtured during my process. I wasn't told how to heal. Remember, all I saw was it swept under the rug. So I really didn't know. And so as I move further, you know, I got addicted to drugs and I started running out there. And I remember one day I was so high. I, you know, was running with this guy who I thought to trust me, and he threw me down and he raped me.
Yeah.
You know,
Ooh.
and he raped me. You know, and it was nothing I could do because, you know, I was so out of it, trying to, you know, medicate myself with things that were not pleasing, you know. And that walk, it took a turn and led me into a relationship that, you know, I thought it was someone that I loved.
Right.
But it turned out to be a valid relationship.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like all these trails of things, they played a part of that moment.
Yes, leading
that I was
leading
abused.
right back to
Yeah,
your childhood.
Exactly.
Yeah, and see, violence always it's an assault on our heart, because with a broken heart, with a heart that's bleeding, with a heart that's shifting, with a heart that cannot breathe, with a heart that has no type of direction, no guidance, no love, and with a heart that feels disrespected.
Yes.
Because that's a total disrespect on a woman, including a child. Because when we are a female and we're growing up and we're just learning how to take care of ourselves, especially when we just get into the time 13, 14, 15, and we start our little cycle, and you know, we're just now beginning to learn how to feel what a woman is all about, and then you're being damaged and violated.
Yes.
And you know, that puts you in a realm of going the other way to dangerous lives, dangerous activities, and you know, doing drugs, you know, prostitution and selling your body, because you know that's all you know, because hey, I'm broken, I'm damaged. That's all I know.
Exactly.
Lord.
And you definitely touched a point there, and that's, you know, I had to learn. You know, I went through a series because I wanted healing. I wanted healing for myself, and I never received healing, and it was a journey before I got there. And like I said, I ended up in a domestic violence relationship, and I thought he loved me because he was buying me things and he was giving me all these nice things, but at the same time he was tormenting me, and he was keeping me in a bad space, just saying that, you know, but I love you, you know, and I didn't have a life, and I couldn't go outside, and I couldn't have friends, and I couldn't do things that normal people would do. So, you know, my life was just taking a sparrow. I remember I just would look out my window and I say, why can't I be normal? You know, what is wrong with me? Then you have people calling you crazy, and you don't have good sense, and, you know, and all this stuff has started resonating in your soul.
Yeah.
You know, and you wonder, you know, what is wrong with me? Why am I like this? But I come to tell somebody out there that's listening.
Yes, tell them.
It is not
Tell 'em.
about you. It is not about you. It's about your abuser.
Yes.
It's about what led you to do the things that you do. And a lot of people, remember, that point the finger and to say that it's you and you have a problem and you're crazy and you're sick and something is wrong with you and you start trouble. Well, let me tell you something. You are just misunderstood. You are just misunderstood. And let me tell you, pick up your cross. And you run with it, because God has built some greatness inside of you that you have no idea. You didn't go through all of that in your life for nothing.
Ooh. You know what? You have touched on some things that God led me to discuss tonight. God is your comfort. God says in Matthew chapter 5, verse 4, God comforts those who are mourning, for they will be comforted. He will lift you. He will give you his right hand. He will give you the bread, the water. He will give you everything you need. Yes, please remember that through all the circumstances you're going through, God loves you, and he knows what you're going through. All he wants is just for you to open that mouth. Just say, God, heal me, relieve me, comfort me, Just come pick me up. Put me where you want me at. Give it to me, God. Give it to me. Yes. Now see this, and see this is why the title for tonight is God is on your side, because God says, I would never leave you. I would never forsake you. I am God. I love you, and I know what you need. He knows. And another one is the covenant. God is the covenant. God says that in Luke chapter 22, verse 20, God says that I am the covenant. I bring life. See, when you're feeling like you have no life, when you're down and out, when you're broken, when you're homeless, when you've been violated, when your heart feels that you're trapped in these situations, when you're being abused, when you're being violated, when you're in these domestic violence relationships, and when they're just beating you, intimidating you, calling you names, cursing you out, telling you that no one gonna love you like I love you. Believe that God knows exactly what's going on, and he will bring life into that situation. He will bring life into where it seems like there is no life. God says, after he took that cup of wine, he said, this is the wine, a token of God's new covenant to save you. An agreement sealed with the blood I will pour out for you. All the blood that God shed. All the blood he shed. And he's letting you know with that glass of wine that he poured out, that this is out for you. This is my blood I'm shedding for you. So that lets you know that every stripe that God took, every stripe that was forced up against him, all the bad words that were volatile, that was forced up against him, when he was on that cross and nailed, bleeding, dripping, and he's telling everyone, he's telling them who he is, and they're disagreeing. And when he rose on the third day, all the ones that were calling him names, all the ones who didn't believe who he was, all the ones who mistreated him, they changed their mind real quickly at that point. They had no choice but to believe who he was. You know, 12% of rapes and sexual assaults that occur on victims, those involve a weapon. These are the ones that someone you know, for example, because we know that a lot of rapes and assaults occur on college campuses. We know that women walking on trails have been assaulted, and they've been forced to have sex and give up their possessions and other items and things where a weapon was involved. And this touches a place with me because, you know, I have children, and you know, when you talk to your kids and you're telling them, let me know if someone is doing something to you, if someone touches you, a man or a woman, and they're messing with your body, and, you know, they're asking you to do certain things, and, you know, they're forcing themselves up on you, and then you're trying to explain and give these good examples of what sexual assaults are and what rapes are and what molestation is, and, you know, you do everything in your power at that point in time to guide a child, to give them the education that's needed. But when they are violated, that piece of education does not stand up against the way that that child's heart is damaged, the way that their body is feeling. And so I commend you for every step that you've taken, for every prayer you prayed, and for every recovery that you recovered from, and for every abuse. Everything that was damaging to you, it is such a pleasure to see you here with this great smile. So we know that God is on your side.
Word to God, I didn't do it.
yes.
Only he gets the glory. I'm supposed to be naturally out of my mind. I'm supposed to be in a crazy house somewhere. I ain't even supposed to be sitting here talking to you guys, but his grace and his mercy is sure enough sufficient.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And you know, God says in the Bible, he says that no weapon formed against you shall prosper.
Yes.
So all those little evil weapons, the demons and the demonic things that started in the womb, and all the demons that came into your life and tried to destroy your path. Ooh, God says that weapon shall not prosper.
Yes.
It will not form. It will not form. Yes. You know, I just want everyone out there to know that you can handle it. You can make it. You can take control of your life. Don't let any situation make you become something that you know that you're not. Right. Don't let nothing stop you from becoming a person that you were destined to be. Yes. You are great. God loves you. I love you. And, you know, there are so many other people who loves you. Yes. You just got to put yourself in that position to be loved properly. Yes. I mean, properly loved by someone who will love you, who will love you until you take your last breath. You know, that's the love that's the love that we want. That's the love that we're preaching about. Yes. That's the love that Finding Your Destiny talks about, because we love to heal hearts, minds, and souls. Yes.
You know, and that's something, and you know, and that's something you just hit. You said, God loves us. Yes. He loves us. You know, he loved me when I was a drug addict. He loved me when I was soliciting my body for money. He loved me. He knew what I was going through, and he had not gave up on me. Yes. Because he knew that it was the enemy after me. But you see, it was my great-grandmother, Annie Taylor, that poured in the depth of my soul from day one when I was a baby. Yes. And she put those values in me of God. I can remember, I never knew how I really looked until I was in my latter 30s, because we never had mirrors in the house. So I never knew. I would walk up people and they would say, oh, you're so beautiful, but I never saw the beauty. But you know what it was? They saw the beauty within. So when the beauty within meets up with the beauty outer, oh my God, it's like a flower.
Ooh, you were glowing. You were glowing.
Yes. And I just thank her for just embedding all that in my soul, you know, and teaching me how to pray. I mean, I used to be times I had to pray. I didn't feel like praying, but I had to get down on my knees with my great-grandmother every night, who was in her latter 70s. And I had to pray.
You know, God says that there was someone who was praying for us. We just don't know who they are. Yes. Yes. So that tells you right there that she was praying for you, and she was praying for you, and she was setting that stepping stone. Yes. Because, you know, when you make it up to heaven and you're looking down upon your loved ones, and you're looking down upon this earth that is so demonic and that's just, you know, scattered and so much danger right now. When you're up there in heaven and you're looking down, they say that you could do in heaven what you could do here on earth. Oh, yes. So she was praying and she was guiding your steps, and she brought you back out of those danger zones. Yes. She brought you out. Yes. And you know what, Miss Annie Taylor, look, I love you too, Mama. I love you too. Yes. And thank you for the prayers. Thank you for everything you were doing, that you are still doing in heaven. Yes. Because, you know, prayer does changes things, and it brings the light to who you are, and it helps you become the person that God intended for you to become. Yes. So I love it. I love it.
It does a strength in your inner soul. It does a strength. And sometimes I know you're out there and you're saying, well, okay, I'm praying, and nothing's changing. Remember this, it's changing. It's got to change in the heavenly. Ooh. And then it comes to the earthly realm.
Yes.
And by the times it meets you and it collides with you, you're going to move into your destiny.
Yes. Yes.
That's why I love this name of the show, The Destiny.
Yes. I love the way you put that. I love that. Because it does make sense that way.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I went up to heaven and I had my visit with I have two kids that are there, my daughter and my son. And so I had a miscarriage with my son, but when I saw how wonderfully made that he is, the beauty in his skin tone, the beauty in his voice, and just how handsome he is, and the beauty of what God put in me to carry. Even though I had a miscarriage, God gave me that wonderful life. Right. And when he showed me in heaven that my daughter was not going to be alone and that she had someone there with her to guide her into heaven and to help her and, to be, a brother. Someone that she didn't have here on earth, but she got a brother in heaven that her mother had carried. And so, that was such a wonderful blessing for me to go through that type of experience.
Yes.
And so you still live and grow in heaven. You still can, help create some stuff here on this earth. And do some guiding and some interceding because it is true. You can still intercede in heaven and have some things come true here on earth. Yes. Well, tonight we discussed that God's on your side. So no matter what you're going through, no matter what you're feeling, no matter what circumstances are, God can change anyone into what he wants you to be. He can change any person from being addicted to a clean and sober person who has never had a taste again from another drug, another alcohol. Listen, God can change. He can bring things to your life. He can show you exactly who he is because he's shown it in me. He's definitely shown it in my wonderful guest, Miss Tanya Graham. So remember that God loves you. I love you. And if there's anything that you're looking for, please go to my website. It's www